Basically, change is the only permanent thing in this world. What has been in the past might not be the same at present. Now we are going to learn more about the concept of change. We are going to answer the following questions. So, what is change? We are going to define here our organizational change, explain how managers are affected by change. Then we will also know about forces for change, discuss the external and internal forces for change, then contrast internal external change agents. The two views of the change process contrast the calm waters and white water rapids metaphors of change, explain Lewin's three-step model of the change process, and we are going to discuss the environment that managers face today. Will also be learning how to manage change, explain how managers might change structure, technology, and people, describe why people resist change and how resistance might be managed. We'll also learn about contemporary issues in managing change, explain why changing organization culture is so difficult and how managers can do it. We're going to describe employees' stress and how managers can help employees deal with stress. We're going to discuss what it takes to make change happen successfully. Then we will also be learning about stimulating innovation, tell why innovate isn't just creativity, explain the system's view of innovation, describe the structural, cultural, and human resource variables that are necessary for innovation, explain what idea champions are and why they're important to innovation. Now, what is change? Let's start with what we call organizational change. Organizational change are any alterations in the people, structure, or technology of an organization. If there will be a change in terms of how people should act, how people should do their tasks in the organization, can also be part of the organization change, as well as the change of structure and technology that the organization is using. Characteristics of change is constant yet varies in degree and direction, produces uncertainty yet is not completely unpredictable. It creates both threat and opportunities. Here we can say that managing change is an integral part of every manager's job. What are the different forces of change? It can be categorized into two. We have the external forces and that of internal forces. For external forces, we have here forces for change, marketplace, governmental laws and regulations, technology, labor market, and economic changes. For internal forces, we have changes in organizational strategy, workforce changes, new equipment, and employee attitudes. The manager as change agent. Change agents, that is, are people who act as catalysts and assume the responsibility for changing process. They are called change agents. What are the types of change agents? So we have managers, they are internal entrepreneurs. For non-managers, they are change specialists. And for outside consultants, the change implementation experts. Change process viewpoints. The calm Potter's metaphor. Okay, this is a Levin's description of the change process as a break in the organization's equilibrium state. We have here unfreezing the status quo, changing to a new state, and reprising to make the change permanent. White water rapids metaphor is the lack of environmental stability and predictability requires that managers and organizations continually adapt or manage change actively to survive. What are the types of change? We have structural, that is changing the organization's structure or its structural components. For technological, it's adapting new equipments or operating methods that displace old skills and require new ones. For automation, it is replacing certain tasks done by people with machines, while for workforce, is the changing attitudes, expectations, perceptions, and behaviors of the workplace. Managing resistance to change. So why people resist change? It's basically because the ambiguity and uncertainty that change introduces the comfort of old habits. So they've been used for a particular kind of routine or things that you usually do. And upon the introduction of change, it's difficult for them because they've been comfortable with the old habits. That's why people resist change. Another reason why people resist change that a concern over personal loss of status, money, authority, friendships, and personal convenience. There's also the perception that change is incompatible with the goals and interests of the organization. Now, what are issues in managing change? Okay, we have changing organizational cultures. Cultures are naturally resistant to change. Conditions that facilitate culture change are the following: the occurrence of the dramatic crisis, leadership changing hands, a young, flexible, and small organization, and there is also a weak organizational culture, right? Handling employee stress due to change. Okay, stress is the physical and psychological tension an individual feels when confronted with extraordinary demands, constraints, or opportunities and their associated importance and uncertainties. We also have here functional stress. This is stress that has a positive effect on performance, and this is something good. How potential stress becomes actual stress. There is uncertainty over the outcome when the outcome is important. Reducing stress, engage in proper employee selection, match employees' KSAs to jobs TDRs, use realistic job interviews for reduced ambiguity, improve organizational communications, develop a performance planning program, use job redesign, provide a counseling program, overtime planning and management assistance, and of course, sponsor wellness programs. It's important, for example, for any organization to organize such as Zumba for all employees so that they get to band with each other and they will be able to also improve their health and eliminate stress as much as possible. Making change happen successfully, you have to embrace change and become a change capable organization. Create a simple, compelling message explaining why change is necessary. Communicate consciously and honestly. You have to foster as much employee participation as possible. So you have to get all employees committed. Encourage employees to be flexible, and you have to remove those who resist and cannot be changed. Stimulating innovation. Okay, so we have here a term creativity. Creativity is the ability to combine ideas in a unique way or to make an unusual association, while innovation is turning the outcomes of the creative process into useful products, services, or work methods. So, innovation is more on the application of that creative process. Okay, so that you'll be able to come up with something like products, service, or work, wherein you can also introduce that to the market. Creating the right environment for innovation, we have the structural variables. You have to adapt the organic structure, make available plentiful resources, engage in frequent inter-unit communication, minimize extreme time pressures and creative activities, and you're going to provide explicit support for creativity. All right, so control variables accept ambiguity, tolerate the impractical, have low external controls, tolerate risk taking, tolerate conflict, and you have to focus on ends rather than means, and develop an open system focus and provide positive feedback. As we all know, positive feedback to employees will really help them to improve and at the same time will motivate them to do better. Human resource variables actively promote training and development to keep employee skills current. Right. So this is one of the tasks of human resource department to really train the employees to do specific tasks so that they will be able to know what to do when they are going to do their assigned tasks, and also be able to develop their skills uh, for 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 long-term uh, purposes. You have to offer high job security to encourage risk taking and encourage individuals to be champions of what we call champions of change. Because if they are champions of change, then this will create a certain culture of innovation, culture of adapting to changes in various ways.